Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
What's going on, YouTube? Back again from the dumpster fire that we call MetLife Stadium and the New York Giants right now. And we got some big news. We got some big news that I wanted to talk about. There's been some big news on the Giants' plan for this upcoming offseason. And it's not that the Giants are going to go out and Sam Darnold. It's not that they're going to go and draft Shedeur Sanders. But word came from popular Miami booster, forgetting his last name. I know his first name is Nevin. See if I can pull it up. Nevin Shapiro, popular guy. This is a guy that's been a booster for Miami for like 30 years. He's been like a booster for almost everybody that's gone through there for like the last 30 years. He pretty much knows. He's been a guy that, of course, has a lot of connections in the NFL too, just because of how many players from Miami have gone into the NFL. And he has what he says is a very reliable source. Now, Nevin Shapiro is not someone who has come out and said things in the past that just have been just complete BS. He's a very reliable source, coming from that direction. But he says that his source, who we trust a lot, says that no matter what, Cam Ward is going to be a New York Giant. Now, I made a video 2 days ago about Shedeur Sanders, and pretty much I said that Shedeur Sanders and Deion Sanders, that whole thing with them, that Deion may or may not want Shedeur to be on the Giants, and I felt that it was just kind of overblown. But this guy, Nevin Shapiro, is saying that it's not overblown and that Deion wants Shedeur specifically on the Raiders. So not necessarily that he doesn't want him on the Giants. Now, he did say he doesn't want him on the Giants, but it seems like he's really obsessed with getting Shedeur Sanders to the Raiders, which, some Raiders fans took offense to that video. I mean, I wasn't really trying to bash the Raiders as an organization, but I just don't see how you can look at the Raiders and you can look at the Giants and just say, oh, the Raiders are just this first-class situation and the Giants are I just don't get it. But anyway, he wants him on the Raiders. And so they're saying even if the Giants did have Shedeur ranked over Cam Ward, they're not going to go through the headache of taking him and having to deal with the backlash of what Deion's going to do and everything like that. So they said that no matter what, Cam Ward is going to be a Giant. Obviously, I'm okay with either pick. Shedeur is my number one quarterback, but I'm okay with either pick. He says that he pretty much has a reliable source. That, I mean, he'd be shocked if anything else but Cam Ward to the Giants happened. Now, Shapiro did do some prison time for a Ponzi scheme that he kind of had going on. But as far as the sources that he's kind of, talked about and the things he said, those have all been true. So, take it or leave it there. But another thing that he said that was interesting is that they would bring his offensive coordinator with him. And let me pull up. And another thing he said is that they would bring Shannon Dawson, the offensive coordinator for Miami, to the Giants as the offensive. Now, he didn't say as the offensive coordinator, but he said they were bringing him to the Giants. So it seems like they have a deal that's just like already set in stone to where Cam Ward is coming to the Giants and his offensive coordinator from Miami is also coming to the Giants. So he won't have to learn a new system. We already know he can work in this system. And he pretty much is going to hit the ground running. I mean, I can't think in recent memory how many times somebody has gotten to the NFL and had the same offensive coordinator that they had in their last year of college football. I'm sure there have been some similar systems, but that would be interesting. If we got him and his offensive coordinator, that's just assuming that he would be the offensive coordinator and not the head coach. I don't understand why he would be the head, but it is what it is there. He would definitely be hitting the ground running from the perspective of he would already know the offense. Now, I'm sure they have to add some things to make it a little bit more pro style, but for the most part, he would know the terminology, he would understand the offense, and he would have someone that he was already comfortable with. Now, this was a career year for Cam Ward. In his past 2 seasons, he had 23 touchdowns, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions the first year, 7 the second year. So he's never really had an interception problem. But this year, where he's a Heisman finalist, I don't think he'll win it. Travis Hunter will probably get the Heisman. But he had 4,100 yards, 36 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. So by far his best year, highs in yards per attempt and everything, yards per game. 343 yards per game in 2024. So that's something else. That's something else. So he has gotten better and better every year. And with Shannon Dawson, he has just basically broken out. And because I looked at Cam Ward last year as a third or fourth round pick, I thought he had a lot of things they needed to work on. And this year, he just seems a lot more calm, a lot more efficient. Now, he's never had a turnover issue, but he does make boneheaded plays. And I think he made more of those plays in the past. So let's talk about it. If Cam Ward is now going to be the focus, if this man is true and everything he says is true, then again, I'm not going to say I'm disappointed here because I think Cam Ward probably has the highest ceiling, and it's all going to depend on what coach we have. Now, if we have his offensive coordinator from Miami, he's already going to be comfortable. If we have another coach, this could possibly open up things for a guy like Mike Vrabel. Maybe Mike Vrabel is the guy that we hire, and since Mike Vrabel hasn't really done the best at going out and getting an offensive, mastermind, just bring in Shannon Dawson with him. And let them continue to work with Cam Ward from that perspective. That way, you don't necessarily put all the onus on the head coach to go out and find a guy to develop a quarterback. You just allow the guy that's been developing him more time to develop him at the NFL level. Like I said, he's got the highest ceiling. He can make people miss. He can run around the backfield like nobody else can. He's like a Caleb Williams, Patrick Mahomes from that perspective of like. He can honestly make 5 or 6 people miss, be off his back foot, throw it 50 yards downfield on a rope, and it be completed. So those types of plays are going to be exciting. Really calm in the pocket. Him and Shador are calm passes in the pocket. Really nice feel for rushers as they're coming through. And I've seen a lot of critique of his release because it's low. But I really like the guy's release because his hand is always pointing to where he's throwing the ball, and it's always accurate. So it's like he's kind of handing the ball off 20, 30 yards downfield, and it's always accurate. Sometimes it gets batted down. Sometimes you could say it's a low release, but I don't think that'll be a problem. He's also someone that can switch, how he throws the ball. He can throw it sidearm. He can throw it underhand. He can do all that stuff. He's a guy that's going to go out and be entertaining. He's someone that, even though he's been efficient in college, in the NFL, can be a guy that has a bunch of turnovers because he's going to be someone that may scramble around for 30 seconds in the backfield and end up fumbling or throwing an interception because he's someone that believes that he can make the play every single time, which we've seen with Patrick Mahomes, we've seen with Josh Allen, we've seen with a lot of these guys. And if you have the right coach there, Andy Reid, Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator on the Bills, if you have the right coach there, then I think you can harness that and you can turn him into a very dangerous player. I'll say Shador Sanders could very well be, a Pro Bowl, all-pro level quarterback, but that's going to be mostly because of, being on time, making the right throws. But as far as just raw talent, I think Cam Ward could be an amazing quarterback. The kind of quarterback that we've seen where we're like, I wish I had that guy. Like, I wish that our quarterback was capable of making some of these ridiculous plays the way that, a guy like Justin Herbert or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, he can make all those kinds of plays. So that excites me. We'll see if there's any validity to this. Obviously, if the Raiders keep the first pick, everybody knows that the Raiders are going to take Shador Sanders anyway. So if we end up having the second pick and taking Cam Ward, I'm fine with that. I'll be excited for that. And it looks like, the way that the Giants are moving right now, we just shut down Trey Hawkins. We just shut down Tyler Nubin. We shut down Dexter Lawrence the other day. He's got the arm thing. But it seems like a lot of these injuries where players may have been able to come back, they're coming back much later. They're being shut down for the season because it seems like the Giants have finally said, okay, we have to make sure we don't win any more games this year. So it's looking pretty good. You got Lamar Jackson coming up. You got, I think, the Falcons after that. And then I think you got, the Colts, and then you got Philly. So not much longer to go. We really needed Philly to lose that game to Bryce Young. That would have made them have to play for something in the last week. But maybe they'll be tied with Detroit for the first seed, and they'll have to break that tie by beating us in week 18. So hopefully that goes our way. If we can keep this second pick, I really think we'll have a guy that can turn this franchise around. He's got a lot of traits that I think will be amazing. He's not as big-headed as a Shador Sanders may be, not as, overly confident, but he is very confident. He's not a guy that is going to be, soft spoken. He's going to speak up, which I think is something that this city and this football team needs, because not everybody can be Eli Manning. Not everybody can be someone who is soft spoken, who doesn't really have, he's not going to go and hype up the team every week. Not everybody can be that guy and be a Hall of Fame level player. Not everybody can do that. So it'll be refreshing to see whatever quarterback gets here is going to be very different than what we've had with Daniel Jones and Eli Manning as far as personality wise. And I can't wait to see what happens with Cam Ward. And what about, 6 months here, 5, 6 months here.